come up in a minute.
Oh, look. Just
right on cue.
Perfect timing.
Just as we go live, Eric's barking.
Hello, Sue.
So welcome everyone.
Hi, Sue.
Just as soon as it went live, it was like cue.
The doorbell went.
We've got 4 on.
So the Eric doorbell went off.
Hi, Raven Witch.
Hi.
That's Eve, isn't it? Good. Hi, Sue. Hi, Eve. Good evening, everyone. As always, if you are watching, do please pop a hello in the comments.
Yes, I see the little picture now.
We'll wait for the dog to calm down.
Luckily, it didn't. Yeah, because I got my headphones in. Denver didn't hear that. Sue's fast asleep down by the side of me.
Hi, Sephora.
Hi, Sephora.
Good morning, Sephora. Gosh, yes, it must be
good
really
morning.
early for you. Sephora's over in New Zealand. You're mad. But thank you.
Because we're a bit earlier than usual, aren't we?
That's the rock star going off to his gig.
Oh, bye, Pete.
The dog will calm down in a minute. Hi, Susan. This is my entire week rolled into about 2 minutes. Are you going to come and sit down? Come on, come and sit down.
Hello, Kerry.
Hi, Kerry.
There we are.
And quiet.
Right, hopefully.
One of them
Hi, Debbie.
weeks, I think. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Kerry. Hi, Debbie. You're on my TV.
Cat
You're
on my TV.
Oh, that's not good.
Sorry about that.
Hi, Maria.
Should be quiet now. Hi, Maria. Hi, Rosemary. Yeah, he'll settle down now. We should be all right now because the doorbell went. My parrot has decided to bash his metal mirror and bell. Everyone's joining in. It's all a symphony. Sephora, haven't the workmen gone home? No, the builders weren't here today. No, that was the doorbell. That was the doorbell going. Yeah, we have a Dachshund charger for our doorbell. Thank
I can always tell. I had my headphones in listening to music earlier. And I think I'll know if someone rings the doorbell or whatever because he'll stop.
I'm sure Denver will more than happily let you know.
Yeah, dog alarm. We'll give it a couple of minutes for people to find us, but we've got a lot to go through this evening. Lots of lovely Sulis info this evening. But we'll give it a couple of minutes to people to find us. Hope you've all had a good day, or in Sephora's case, a nice sleep. Oh, that splashed water all over my face. That was good. Has anyone worked with Sulis before? Does anyone know Sulis? Have you worked with her? Do you know anything about her? Anybody visited the Roman baths? Let us know in the comments. Debbie, we had a Labrador, so originally a dog person, now converted to cat. That's like, it's like converting, isn't it, from gas to electric or something? Eve, not. No, I think Sulis is one of the bit of an unknown, isn't she? So hopefully we can open everyone up to her today. We could do with some of her energy today. We've all had a bit of a weird week. So we're going to bring some positive, funky solar energy in. Although she's a goddess of curses, but you've got to have the good with the bad, haven't you? And the light with the dark. Good evening, Naomi. Good evening. Oh, Naomi, my other picture of Sulis, this is the book cover. My other picture of Sulis was made by Naomi. And it's hanging up in my witchy room. But because we've got builders in, I can't get in my witchy room at the minute because it's filled with boxes from floor to ceiling. So I apologize. Otherwise, that picture would be here. But that picture is in the presentation. So we'll get to it. We will get to it. She does sound good. Sulis, she's definitely a kick butt type of goddess. Definitely one for us. Zavora visited the Roman baths via Google Earth. Well, that's a good way of doing it. We've got lots of photos today. We have lots of pictures to show you of the Roman baths too. So don't worry, you'll get to see a little bit inside as well. Good evening, Jane and the Westies. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you here. Yeah, bit of Sulis. Bit of Sulis. So no, we have all been. I've been to Bath several times. My journey with her started quite a number of years ago now, from visiting Bath, which is in Somerset. We went as a group, didn't we? Went on a bit of a jolly. Got thrown out of the cathedral by the energies. The energy of the cathedral threw us out. But we'll cover that. Bath is beautiful. If you do get the chance to visit the city of Bath, do go. It is a lovely, lovely city. Lots to look at, lots to see. It's kind of a nice mix, isn't it, of normal chain stores, but individual independent stores and cafes and all sorts of stuff, as well as the Roman baths, obviously. Nice place to visit.
And the architecture in general in the older sections was beautiful, wasn't it?
It's all protected. I believe if you build something new in the centre of Bath, it has to be built in the same stone that everything else has been built with, and it's quite monitored quite strictly. You won't find any double glazing in the centre of Bath. It's all got to be in keeping with the city, which is lovely.
And the river was beautiful, wasn't it?
Nice.
Yes. Not so much in the dark when we were walking home from the Indian restaurant. It was a little bit scary.
They wouldn't go down the dark bit.
No, we weren't that brave.
You only trust me in daylight.
Heather is our sat nav, aren't you? So I'll do a little bit of thing. This is the book. Wrong way. I will do this once because I'm not going to keep throwing the advert of the book at you. I will do it once. Pagan Portals, part of the Moon Books Pagan Portals series. This is Sulis. It's due out the end of September. You can order it from all the usual places, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the places that you normally get your books from, or you can order a signed copy from the Kitchen Witch online shop. Comes out end of September. It's not huge. It's just an introduction to her. The artwork on the front was done by the lovely Susie Edwards. You can find her on Facebook as Susie the Ink Witch. A lot of research, a lot of historical stuff, and my own interpretations and way of working with her as well. So there's the advert, done and dusted.
Pete will be very pleased.
Done that bit. Won't do that again. The rest of the of ours will be. We've got pretty pictures to show you. We've got a presentation, and we'll finish up with a ritual, a Sulis ritual as well. If you get called away, if you don't have time, if whatever, it will be on replay afterwards. But we would love for you to stick with us, and then you can ask questions and share insights. The ritual, very straightforward. You can follow it along. You can do it with us. Entirely up to you. You know the score. You've been here before. Sephora have ancestors from Trowbridge. So I'm thinking at some stage, some Sulis in the DNA. She is very, very ancient, as you will discover when we do the presentation. So you never know. Sue, been to Bath, didn't get a chance to visit the Roman baths. We'll show you some photos this evening, Sue. It's all fine. Eve has little altar set up on my desk. Perfect. So we've got a lot of stuff to get through. So we'll make a start. I'll get some pretty. This is me and technology, which is all right if I can just spend time on my own clicking buttons. Actually getting it to work when I'm live, it's another thing. But we'll do a screen. We'll do a screen share and see where we go. There she is, right from the beginning. I don't want that one. I want right. That's showing that one, isn't it? But not that one. I've got two screens here, and it's all very complicated. No, it's not. It's not going to play ball, is it? So let's Let's do that again. See, I knew it wasn't going to go smoothly. Let's do it like that. Let's do it like that. I am talking to myself. Don't worry.
We're listening. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll do it like that. We'll do it like that. We'll roll with it. It's not going to play ball properly. That's me confusing it with two screens. I missed some comments down here. There we are. Good evening, Anne. Right. So we'll start. We'll start with the springs. The springs themselves are thought to be around 12,000 years old, a little bit older than me. From the end of the last ice age, which kind of puts it a little bit into perspective, rain falls onto the limestone in the beautiful Mendip Hills and from rocks to the north and the west. It soaks in and flows in the beds that run from there under the clay and mudstone of the hillsides and the valleys. The thousands of feet of rock press down on it from above, heating it, and then it rises under Bath. Here we have a picture of, there they go, breaking through into a low-lying river bend. Although we understand some of the science behind it, well, not when I say we, scientists understand some of the science behind it, no one seems to understand why the 3 hot springs appear here and nowhere else. These are the only true hot springs in the British Isles. And the springs aren't just thermal, they're also mineral. So they contain at least 38 minerals, which I'm guessing is why the spring got its reputation for being healing waters. So in the beginnings, back in 1998, which I do remember, 98, small borehole was drilled into the sediment of the hot bath springs, and a collection of 494 stone tools were found that date back to the early Mesolithic period. So that makes them about 9,500 years old. The experts estimate there may be 1,700 artifacts per cubic meter. That's a lot, sitting in the muds of the spring. The tools all looked relatively unused, which leads them to believe that they were actually offerings made to the spirit or the goddess of the springs rather than discarded working tools. You have to think that the Mesolithic period was a time of hunter-gatherers. It was pre-farming, and they were just beginning to colonize Britain. The hot springs must have been an absolute surprise for them to find. They probably would have never experienced anything like it before. Obviously, we don't know much, if anything, about the spiritual beliefs of Mesolithic man, but I suspect they were probably quite fearful of it and probably quite in awe of the phenomenon. More archaeological finds show that this spot was visited regularly in the period afterwards, up to 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. When farmers settled in the surrounding area, the springs, it seems, were pretty much left alone. Perhaps people feared them too much, or they might have been treated as a sacred site. Perhaps there was only a dedicated priest that was allowed to visit them. We don't know. Roll on to the early 1st century, and the causeway of gravel and mud was placed into the main spring pool. This would have allowed people to walk out into the centre of the main pool. It might have served as an entryway where they could then make offerings into the waters. A lot of the offerings seem to have been found in the form of coins, which are some of the pictures you've got on the screen here are from the actual Roman Baths Museum. 17 coins from the local British tribe, the Dobunny. Never sure how to pronounce that. They were found in a dig in 1970. No, Dobunny. Yeah, that's how I say it. A few remnants of
I like Dobunny.
Dobunny sounds good. Yeah. They found a few bits of pre-Roman pottery as well, but it seems that no one actually built on the area of the springs until the Romans arrived. So in AD 43, the Roman army invaded Britain, and in less than 2 years, they'd conquered the local tribes and brought most of the southern half of England under their control. The springs at Bath were in the territory of the tribe, the Dobunny. It was believed they were actually one of the tribes that sought peace with the Romans and became allies, which probably seemed like a very good idea at the time. So the Romans created a spa in Bath, building on top of the natural springs and adopting the local goddess Sulis. The town grew up around it, and the Romans called the town Aquae Sulis, or Waters of Sulis. Not very inventive, but does what it says on the tin. Although originally they think that the name was probably Aquae Coldiae, which means hot waters. Bath doesn't ever seem to have been a big or major site for the Romans. It didn't have a council. It didn't have a large Roman administration. It seems that the main feature would have been the baths and then the temple that was built later. They believe that the temple and sanctuary began being built around 70 AD onwards. So this is probably our favourite part of the baths, I think, isn't it? Looking at this bit, this is the temple. This is the podium of the temple. So when you visit the Roman baths, if you're seeking Sulis, the first thing that strikes you is the sculptured pediment of her temple, which is the picture on the screen. Built within the grounds of the Roman baths, north of the sacred spring, was a temple dedicated to Sulis. Not much of it remains now, other than the pieces of the pediment and some of the flooring and a few bits of altar. But you get a real sense of her there. It is described as a great classical temple with a portico of 4 high columns above its courtyard. Today, you can actually sit at the top of a set of modern stairs and you look directly at this image that you can see on the screen. It is quite moving. There are broken pieces, obviously. They have been put together and they have filled in the bits that they haven't got with some imagery. If you look in the center, it's probably quite a familiar symbol, which is the Gorgon. But we will take a closer look at that one in the moment.
So at the west end of the baths, you'll find a temple dedicated to the goddess Sulis Minerva. In front of the temple was a lower paved area that extended around the spring and right up to the walls of the baths. The pool in this area seems to have been open to the air, may have been enclosed to the sides with some upright slabs of stone, but they've disappeared over the years. The suggestion that the spring was enclosed but also was still visible means that you think that maybe they had to have a special permission, or they had to be carried out in only certain rituals. People were allowed in, but other people could watch, maybe. Inside of the temple would have been a statue of the goddess Sulis Minerva. Why did the Romans always add Minerva? Minerva's all over.
She's in a lot of them.
She's all over the place. But also in front of the altar, in front of her statue, she would have been looking down, is what they believe, isn't it, from what they found of the fragments. So gifts and offerings, petitions would have been thrown into the hot pool that was included within this temple boundary. Parts of this altar have been found, and it appears to have been quite tall and a square stone platform with 8 Roman deities carved into the 4 corners, so 2 on each of them, I suppose, so that if you've got a corner, there would be 1 each side, wouldn't there? So quite nice. The other 4 of the gods were thought to have been Bacchus, Hercules, Apollo and Jupiter. The other 4 have not been found. And were they part of the Roman Olympian god set? Interesting. A small part of the stone that includes a shape of a trident was found near the remains of the altar, and thought perhaps maybe Neptune was also part of that group. Obviously Minerva also being one of the top Roman gods, and obviously all over the British Isles, because the Romans put her all over the British Isles. It's also believed that the temple was very highly decorated with lots of bright colours, probably some gilding. There's a bronze head of a statue believed to be Sulis Minerva that was uncovered in an archaeological dig. It was gilded. It's slightly bigger than life size, so it must have cast quite an imposing air, glittering in the flames from fires or firebrands. And that's the so that's the one that's actually you can get replicas of it, can't you, in the shop there? But it's the one that's actually in the And then we come to that wonderful Gorgon's head. Is it a Gorgon? Is it a Gorgon?
No,
that's the question.
we could have big discussions about this.
We could have big discussions about that. Yes, so it appears to be male because there is a beard, but who or what it actually represents, I think that one's open for discussion.
It's all theory.
It is all theory. You know, is it Belanus? Personally, I think it probably is. There are certainly similar representations across Europe, aren't there? In Gaul, where you've got this god with a beard that has snakes, but also has chains from his ears, which we were trying to decide when we were sitting for hours. Well, it seemed like hours. It was a long time we sat on those steps trying to decide whether there were these things coming from his ears. But is he Neptune? Is he a sun god of some kind? There is obviously a watery connection. And is it the author Alan Richardson puts forward the theory that the image is the god Fontus?
Yeah.
And the name derives from font or source and is the god of springs and wells. So it could be, maybe. Another author, Paul Dunn, suggested that the Gorgon's head could be that of Pontus. And he called it Pontus rather than Fontus. So Pontus, and that's an ancient Olympian sea god and one of the Greek primordial gods. So, and we do know that the Romans did borrow, I won't say the other word, I'll say borrow some of their gods and goddesses, didn't they, from the places that they came over. So Paul Dunn also puts forward the idea that Sulis was the granddaughter of Gaia and daughter of Pontus.
I'm not
and this
sure.
puts a Greek, that just puts a Greek spin on something which actually, because you don't find Sulis anywhere else.
No.
You don't find her mentioned in the Greek myths. So why he's come out with that one anyway? People come out with ideas, don't they? So in 1890, the Reverend Professor Sayce put forward another theory that the image was of a sun god that presided over the entire baths, providing protection for all within, and the heat within the springs being provided by the sun, and this sun god being the major deity for the whole venue. That sounds very, let's put the goddess to one side type. You know, I can imagine what Sulis thought about that, having been in the cathedral and feeling what she thought of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's more than likely that Sulis was the deity that ruled the spring enclosure, and that makes far more sense. And I think all of us felt that image was Belanus.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was amazing because that was the one part when everything else was so fragmented. That was that piece is virtually complete.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is absolutely amazing, isn't it? When you think about it. The other thing that it has been described as is a typical Celtic male face, and so here we go. My pronunciation's not going to be good. So Diodorus Siculus, writing in the 1st century, stated their aspect is terrifying. They look like wood demons, their hair thick and shaggy like a horse's mane. Some leave a moustache that covers the whole mouth. Shock horror.
It does look like that.
So when you read that, from that lovely Roman gentleman, you look at that picture and you do see that similarity. So maybe he was right. But it also, again, that picture and that whole thing, he's got these large ears and the 2 snakes. You've also got these angelic feathered wings as well. It's such a It is. I'm just, because I just sat there and was awestruck at the.
Yeah.
So they said it could be a male Medusa. They've called it the Gorgon's head. Minerva does have a strong connection to the Gorgon because she bore his slain head on her shield. The other side of this is that heads in general were very much because they were thought to be the seat of the power of the person. So there was quite a thing, wasn't there, that you cut off your enemies' heads and carried them around. So was this a depiction of a head, you know, that had all this knowledge and but was also very protective? We just don't know at the end of the day, do we? You know, was it a warning? Was it a guardian? Was it a protector? We weren't there. We don't know.
It's Balanas.
Who knows?
It's Balanas. Yeah.
Yeah, go with that one. Excuse me. Got a bit of a frog. Looking at the rest of the imagery on the pediment, there are more nods to solar powers. There is a feel of power and victory with the artwork. It would have been very imposing to view originally. I can imagine, yes, it was, wasn't it? Like looming down. Is it perhaps the Romans making their stamp on the area, showing their might, conquest, and their strength? Or maybe they were just showing off. The face is set on a disc, which could be a shield, and is surrounded by a wreath of oak leaves. The oak was, and still is, a sacred tree, which could point to this character being full of victory and fertility. The oak is sacred to the god Balanus, which brings in another connection to him. The shield shape could represent the military aspect and Rome's triumphs. Yeah, that's something, isn't it? To
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Above the head is an 8-pointed star, a link to the heavens and the stars and planets. Stars were sometimes seen as symbols of divinity, and the gods, however, in some cases, they were used to note defiled kings or emperors. The disc is held by 2 winged victories who are standing on globes. Victories appear frequently in military contexts in Britain, the images being introduced by Augustus after the Baths of Actium. They symbolized imperial military victory. Victoria, derived from the Latin vincere, means to conquer. It was a winged figure, a messenger from the gods bestowing praise to the victorious. All sounds very sort of pomp and circumstance, doesn't it? All
that's the 2 bits on either side in the frocks. The victories are the girlies in their frocks on either side.
The girlies side. On the original pediment, but not shown here, were 2 sea beings, often called tritons. There is what seems to have been a torso draped with seaweed beneath the victory in the right-hand corner, thought to have been part of a triton blowing on a conch shell. The second triton would have been in the opposite corner. Triton can be found in Greek mythology. He is the demigod of the sea, son of Poseidon and Amphitrite. And I had to laugh.
There's some good names in here.
I know, it's weird. He appears as a merman, half man and half fish. At the bottom are helmets, one in the shape of a dolphin's head, the other has an owl perched on top with 2 hands clasping his wings. Owl is often linked with the goddess Minerva and is a symbol of wisdom, and dolphin is another animal often associated with Minerva. It all sort of ties in, doesn't it? Even the animal, you know, the animal symbolism and stuff with it as well, which is quite interesting. The victories stand upon spheres. They do bear resemblance to the world. The globes appear to be crisscrossed with lines suggested to mark the paths of the planets. Overall, could this depict the sun as it passes through the seasons, with the heavens and skies above, and the sea and earth beneath, and further below that, the realms of the underworld. Interesting, isn't it? Very fascinating stuff. Belanus. Who is the god Belanus? He does seem to have been around in Britain before the Romans arrived. There is some archaeological evidence. Mention of Belanus, or under the spelling Belinis, is made on a buff sandstone building found at Pierce Bridge, Moribund in Durham. The inscription simply states Belinus, and you do not need a translation for that. Yeah, just there, isn't it? In black, it's just there in black and white. It's like nothing is it? Isn't it? No, definitely is.
No, that's it.
A broken stone altar found at Overborough, Lancashire, bears the text to the divinities of our emperor, and the genius of the guild of Apollo Belanus willingly and deservedly fulfilled his vow. Mention of Belanus is made in various ancient texts from across Europe. He is believed to have been widely worshipped throughout Britain and Europe. His name translates as bright or shiny one. He looks to have been a solar deity, so he works nicely with Sulis. I have walked with Belanus for several years now, and he is a powerful and strong deity. Yes, so definitely they're a match, aren't they?
Yeah.
Definitely. Altars and dedications. This was fascinating. I love this. I think I took loads of pictures myself. Several altars and dedications have been found during the archaeological digs at the Roman baths, covering various deities. These seem to be dedicatory items. The majority of these are made from a stone called oolite. The word oolite comes from ancient Greek and means egg stone. Oh, that's interesting. It is time stone consisting of a mass of grains, oolith. It is a stone found in and around Bath, and most of the buildings, old and modern, are built from it. Wow. There are several items that mention Sulis directly, most of them in the form of altars given in her honour after some kind of vow was made, such as to the goddess Sulis Minerva, Sulinis, son of Materus, willingly and deservedly fulfilled his vow. They like that line, don't they? That was, that bit at the end there.
It's a dedication thing, isn't it? So it's the checks and balances. When you've asked for something, you give something in return. So the question, Sephora, get my teeth in. Sephora says, I wonder if they used the hot springs for cooking like the Maori did with hot springs here in New Zealand. That would kind of make sense, but at the moment they haven't found anything in the hot springs themselves that would suggest cooking implements, as far as I am aware.
No.
All of the things that are found seem to have more been in the offerings kind of area, but it would actually make sense, wouldn't it? Unless I guess they had wooden cooking bowls and utensils to heat things up. I don't know. Yeah, it would make sense, wouldn't it? But as far as I'm aware, nothing's been found in that sort of area, but it would make sense. Sue says you could interpret the hair as sun rays. Yes, it's been one of the suggestions from the Gorgon's head. Originally, they thought they were snakes, but if you look at them closely, they aren't. It is either hair or sun rays. There are snakes around his neck, but the rest of it is definitely hair or sun rays of some sort. So, yeah, absolutely. Maria has the owl and Minerva keyring from Bath. Owls and Minervas. Yeah, they go hand in hand. So we've got some more pickies. So we've got, I like the Oolithic. It's a good word, isn't it? It sounds a little bit Star Trek-y, but Oolithic limestone statue base. This one was found under the pump room at Bath. The statue base looks like an altar with a plain moulded capital and base, but the capital is flat-topped and has no decoration, which is usually found on an altar. So it might have been a plinth for a statue, but it does bear the inscription to the goddess Sulis, Lucius Marcius Memor, soothsayer, gave this as a gift. Now, this one in particular is interesting because the word on the stone is haruspec, which indicates a professional divination reader or a soothsayer. One basically who inspects the entrails. Whether those entrails were human or animal, I shall leave that up to you to decide. But the haruspec, or the soothsayer, he interpreted the will of the gods. It was believed to be the only one in Britain, the only one found in Britain, that indicates that there was a professional diviner who read entrails. They were a seer that could foretell the future, specifically using entrails of animals, although they did sometimes read the fire or the smoke. They were common in ancient Rome right up until the reign of good old Emperor Constantine, but as a Christian, he brought an end to all of that divination nonsense. The question is, was the haruspec a permanent fixture in the Roman baths, or was he just visiting? We don't know. I like to think that they had a good old soothsayer on hand just to, ask you questions of. What it actually translates as, it's a Latin word, haru, and then a Greek word. The Greek word is for gut. So basically, the title of haruspec translates as one who looks at guts. So there's a job to aspire to. We do know there were priests specific to Sulis in residence. There is a memorial altar which was found nearby that gives us the name of Gaius Calpurnius Receptus. These sound like names from a Carry On film.
That actually sounds almost naughty.
Oh, Monty Python. But he was a priest of the goddess Sulis. There is a tombstone that was found near the Roman baths, and it had the inscription, "To the spirits of the departed, Gaius Calpurnius Receptus, priest of the goddess Sulis, lived for 75 years. Calpurnia Tryphosa, his freedwoman and wife, had this set up." So we know there were actual priests dedicated to Sulis, but I find the soothsayer thing absolutely fascinating, that, that it was even a specific job, really. But then we roll on, and as the Roman baths, onto the Roman baths themselves, they were transformed over time. But by the end of the 5th century, there was little left of the city that the Romans would have recognized. Archaeologists have discovered that by AD 470, the baths were probably still standing, but hadn't been used for decades. The surrounding monuments have been demolished. The houses were abandoned or in ruins. Although it does seem that offerings were still being made well into the 5th century, but the focus was on the spring enclosure, with surrounding buildings basically just left to rot and ruin. Around 370, 380, the main outdoor altar was buried under a new floor. The belief is that this was also the time when that bronze statue of Sulis Minerva was removed. Was her head broken on purpose? Did it break in the destruction of the statue, or was it purposely decapitated? We don't know. Final destruction around 450 AD. Gradually, a lot of the remains were built over. In particular parts, the East Bath were covered over in the 10th and 11th centuries by the big old abbey, the big cathedral that now stands there. And that cathedral stands over quite a big section of what would have been Sulis's temple, which is why Sulis is very annoyed. But then the city grew over the remnants of the Roman baths. Much of it is covered now by pavements, by shops, by houses, which is actually really sad.
But when we were walking towards it, I remember getting that, and we were still quite, I didn't know, because I'd never been that, we were still quite away from the actual where the baths are now, but I got that wave of energy.
We came up from the back of it too, didn't we? So you weren't even coming up to the front of it.
And I just suddenly thought, whoa, what is, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Still. Yeah.
It's a fascinating place. So we have lots of coins on the screen. As humans, we have this, there is a need to just chuck things into water over time, whatever it is. We've all done it. Every generation seems to have done it. The springs aren't any different. Huge number of items have been unearthed that were presumably given as offerings to the goddess. Coins seem to have been the favourite. So far, they have unearthed 13,000 coins, ranging from small denominations up to really expensive gold coins. Was the offering of a few pieces of small change a reflection of the size of the request, maybe? If you were asking a great deal of the goddess, would you have given her more coins, a more expensive offering? Personal items have also been found: gold earrings, a cosmetic box, spindle whorls, bronze bracelets, earrings, ivory handled knife, several brooches. The jewelry items all seem to have belonged to females. Was it because it was just females giving it away, or was it because the goddess is female and they seemed that that was an appropriate gift to female deity? Don't know. Parts of crossbows, gemstones from ring settings. The gemstones are quite interesting. There are 33 semi-precious stones and 1 glass, all believed to have been created by the same craftsman, all found in the same place, and all carved. Most of the images feature Roman deities. So there's Apollo, Bonus Aventus, Mars, Ceres, Venus, Fortuna, Sol, Mercury. Did the person give up the entire collection as an offering, or did he just accidentally drop his bag in there?
Yeah.
No idea. Yeah, oops. Quite a lot of pewter and tin. So a tin mask was recovered and a small ivory upper torso carving. Pewter vessels also been found. Bowls, cups, small handled dishes. Some of them are actually inscribed with the words Dea Suli Minerva, which actually means to the goddess Sulis Minerva. Small handled dishes. They could have been offerings to the goddess. They could have been given to the spring waters in a ritual disposal if they were old or broken. Again, don't know. More questions than answers, really. Some of the cups are interesting. Some of the cups have names around the rim, and these form a pattern that represents Hadrian's Wall. And Hadrian's Wall had a lot of Roman forts spaced along its lengths. I like this idea. Could they have been early souvenirs from the wall? Like, I've been to Fort Virginia on Hadrian's Wall and I brought back a cup. No idea. I think that's quite interesting. There is one specific brooch that they found dated back to the 5th century. They believe it may have come from Ireland originally, and it features birds and fish. Are these just from Irish myths, or were they part of a Sulis legend? We don't know. Told you there was more questions than answers.
Amazing though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is just fascinating, and to see all the different, items that were there. Just, I love the way you're giving me the curses to talk about.
I specifically gave you the curses because I thought you would appreciate that. This is probably what she's most famous for.
So curses seem to have been mentioned quite a lot in amongst the offerings for Sulis. There are 130 so far recovered. They've mainly been written with a metal nib or point onto a small piece of pewter or lead, because both of those are quite sort of like soft metals, but they don't rust, do they? Pewter and lead don't rust. Interesting. But they're soft enough that you can roll them or fold them up, and then you can almost imagine somebody with real force, can't you? Really tucking them in. Or is that just me? Anyway, moving quickly on. So most of these were asking for vengeance for somebody that had done wrong to them. And that some of them gave lists of the possible suspects, didn't they? But quite a lot of them seemed to be for personal items, such as a towel, theft of a towel. So anyway, the cursed tablets found in the springs are also known as you've done this. Diffictiones?
Diffictiones. Yep, Diffictiones.
Yep. And they're ranged in date from the 2nd to the late 4th century AD. Sending or requesting curses from the divine was common practice for our ancestors, can be found across many cultures. I would say that even comes into modern folklore. You know, if you thought somebody had stolen your cow, you would go and find the local cunning person and say, I think they took my cow. I mean, you just would, wouldn't you? But yeah, it's to answer your prayers, the positive respects, you know, as well as for anything that you thought. The language used on the curse tablets varies, with Roman capital letters, Old Roman cursive, New Roman cursive, and one tablet that has both Old and New Roman cursive letters. Interesting. And one of the tablets has been written in a language that no one can identify. Some suggest it is ancient Brythonic, others that it's just marks given to look like writing, which is totally possible because not everyone would have had that education, would they? No. So if they would just put down, so it's that intention, isn't it? So there's also the suggestion the text on cursed tablets included magical words and symbols, some even being written on the back or the front. And the idea has been put forward that the cursed tablets may have been nailed to the temple wall where they would have been seen by everyone. Interesting. And yet a lot of them were folded up and put in the water, weren't they?
Some of them they've actually found like a hole which might have been a nail hole in it. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
So perhaps they nailed them up first so that everyone could see them. And they were up there for so long so that people could say, oh, that horrible person that did that, because they had the names on. Then they took it down and then they really put it into the water. More than half of the names on the cursed tablets were Celtic. The rest were Roman, but over more than half. So yeah, it really shows how the local people took on the Roman persona, didn't they?
Yeah.
What needs to be remembered with these tablets is that most of them were very badly written with spelling and grammar mistakes throughout. And it's suggested most of them were written by the lower classes of society that would not have had much schooling or education. And even those that were well educated may not have been given proper instruction in spelling or grammar. What would have made sense in the case of the unreadable curse tablet that just has marks on it is an unrecognizable language, was that this person was illiterate, but still wanted to write a request to the goddess. I'm going with that one.
Makes sense.
I think it was somebody that, and they'd seen people making these marks.
Yeah.
Because it is, even now, magic and it's all about the intention, isn't it?
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? Absolutely.
Quite a lot of the tablets had been damaged, had parts missing, or are now almost unreadable. But there are some examples. A lead sheet found in the reservoir under the King's Bath, found in 1880, which translates to, "May he who carried off a Vilbia from me become as liquid as water. May she who obscenely devoured her become dumb. Whether Velvinia..." Oh,
it gives a list of names. It gives a list of names.
Yeah, it gives a list of names. Finishing with Javina. I won't go into all the others. The suggestion is that Vibia is a Celtic woman's name. Was the woman a slave, a wife, or a concubine? We do not know. The other suggestion is that Vilbium, as it is written, is not a name but an object, a pointed tool. Perhaps we'll never know. A rectangle cut from thick alloy sheet and inscribed translates to read, Eurycalus, Docilia, his wife, Docilitus, his son, and Docilina, his brother, Algiosia, the names of those who have sworn, at the spring of the goddess Sulis on the 12th of April. Whosoever has perjured himself there, you are to make him pay for it to the goddess Sulis in his own blood.
Ooh,
Oh,
it's serious.
very serious, that one, isn't it? That one's slightly different in that this one's slightly different. It's not a curse, but a sanction against perjury. So they must have sworn that oath at the spring. That's what it reads like to me.
Yeah.
And that if they then went against it, interesting. So Euryalus seems to be a Celtic name, whereas
all of the Ds.
4 of those, all the ones the D's, were all Latin, but Algiosia is the unusual and possibly from an ancient Greek. So that's interesting.
Bit of mixture.
Yeah, there are examples of the 130 tablets, curse tablets. But as you can see, there was definitely a very familiar theme going through all of those.
I like the way they list things. So it might be, my towel has been stolen. So can Sulis exact her revenge on him? And then they give a list of all the people that it might have been. Quite a lot of them have these lists of suspects.
So, I mean, were they just listing the people that they were in the bath with at that time, or were they actually listing people that they had a grievance against?
Yeah, it could have been. I think it's
Well,
lovely.
they couldn't get out of the bath. There's no towel, could they? You know.
There's just a couple of. Let me just go back over here. Now, Susie says, I think the hot springs in New Zealand are hotter than at Bath. I don't know how hot the springs in New Zealand are, but the springs at the Roman baths are 111 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's 44 to 46 centigrade. So pretty hot. Hot enough to, cook with if you wanted to. But good evening to those joining us a bit later. We got lots to still get through. Don't worry. David says a very impressive translation. The translations were not my translations. I took them from academics who are far cleverer at this stuff than me. And the book wouldn't have been written without Sir Barry Cunliffe. All hail Sir Barry. I'm a bit fangirl when it comes to Sir Barry Cunliffe. He was one of the archaeologists on the original dig. And his books are amazing. So a bit of a fangirl for him. Sorry, I got sidetracked then.
Yeah.
Is that Barry Cunliffe that did it?
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favourite pictures that you've got up there.
It's impressive, isn't it?
We now go on to the eternal flame. This quote from the 3rd century Roman geographer Sulis is interesting. Minerva is the patroness of these springs. In her shrine, the perpetual fires never whiten into ashes. When they dwindle away, they change into stony globules. Could it suggest that an eternal flame was kept alight in the temple of Sulis? Was it in the form of fire, as the wording implies? It would be another nod to the fire and solar connection for the goddess Sulis. Yes, does seem to
I like that
make
idea.
sense, doesn't it? The Romans often blended the native deities with their own. Perhaps it was to help the locals accept the Romans and welcome them in, or maybe the Romans believed it was worthwhile making friends with the local gods. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It does seem to have been a two-way process. We accepted some of their traditions and they adopted some of ours. Minerva and the Severed Head.
Sounds like a Harry Potter book.
The Romans saw that Sulis had similar attributes and characteristics to that of one of their own goddesses, Minerva. Thus, Sulis became double-barreled in the form of Sulis Minerva. I think it's important to note that Sulis comes first in the name. They obviously realised just how important she was to the local people. In fact, a lot of ancient scripts and writings, we find that Roman writers often referred to deities from other cultures using the names of the Roman gods, those that were more familiar to the writer. He would use the name of a Roman god that had similar attributes to the unfamiliar deity. The pagan deities found in ancient Britain did perhaps confuse the Romans a little. We did not have a structure to our pantheon. There are no obvious hierarchy. We do not have mother and father gods, and those that related directly to Earth each season. Our deities were often localized and specific to one river or mountain, and their characteristics changed with the passing of the seasons. Yes, they must have been really confused. Yeah. Minerva. I'm only going to briefly touch on the goddess Minerva here to give you an idea of her characteristics and attributes so that you can relate them to Sulis. Minerva is a Roman goddess of crafts and trades. She is one of 3 deities of the Capitolina triad who shared a temple on Capitolina Hill in Rome. Originally believed to be of
Etruscan.
Thank you. Origin. And she's doing all this. And then called Minerva or Minerva, she is goddess of wisdom, weaving, science, the arts, and written laws. A lot then.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see how they did link her with Sulis because of that, the law and science and wisdom.
Yeah.
Can't you?
Yeah. That's good how they put that put that together. There is a debate about what the name Sulis translates to. The Proto-Celtic translates of the word Suli does seem to meet sun. In Gaelic, Suli means an eye, an opening, or an orifice. Yes, that was one of the things we found, didn't we? That was quite interesting. Other suggestions lean towards the name meaning eye gap, vision, or well. In Gaelic, the word Sulis translates as sharp-sighted and knowing. This could relate to the solar energy of the springs and perhaps even the idea that Sulis was all-seeing. The Latin name given to the site Aquae Sulis breaks down to mean the waters of Sulis. The suggestion is that it translates completely to mean the waters of the gap, or the waters of the goddess of the gap. Sulis, the solar goddess, protector of the healing waters, and judge and jury for those who are wronged. The solar energy obviously brings the characteristics that we associate with the element of fire. The all-seeing perhaps leads her to help with divination and seership. I think her rule over curses and the heat of the water from underground also gives her a link perhaps to the underworld. Yeah.
We don't know.
I like that though.
Yeah.
I think that
works, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll have a little look at worship. I hesitate to use the word worship because that's not actually how I see connection to deity. I don't bow down and worship the ground or any particular deity. I prefer to see it as walking beside the deity and honouring them and their power. But worship is probably a more recognisable description and probably more akin with how our ancestors would have revered and honoured the gods. There was a certain amount of bargaining and even perhaps haggling with the gods, particularly when it came to asking them for their energy. There are a number of altars dedicated to Sulis in the Roman baths that have been set up as a thank you to the goddess for granting their request, the ones that we saw earlier. They're all in the format of, I ask you for something, you grant it, so I pay for an altar to be built in your honour. It is that exchange of energy. It is much like the process we work with as modern day pagans. There must always be a system of checks and balances when you are working with spells and magic. You ask for something, therefore you must give something in return. Not that I'm suggesting that we build a stone altar each time we have a spell. That works, because that would be a little bit extravagant. The number of offerings that have been unearthed, not just in the waters of Bath, but in most springs and wells, shows that people really gave something in their hope or their wish of their request being granted. Offerings are, in a way, a sacrifice. Now, the Roman Empire did put a ban on human sacrifice, although I am sure it still happened on occasion. And although animals were often sacrificed to the gods in the form of offerings, or to be read, their entrails, your soothsayer in his entrail reading, any type of offering is a sacrifice, particularly if it's an item that is worth something to you. And I think that's where all these items, these pieces of jewelry and plates and dishes and things come in. Could even have been in the form of food from your table or items of monetary value. These are all forms in exchange for energy. And a lot of things like food or wooden things, they wouldn't have survived. So we don't know about those. It's also worth remembering that so much of the Roman baths haven't been excavated yet. So the amount of stuff that still must be underneath it all is quite amazing, really. And here's one for Naomi. Look, there she is. This is a beautiful piece of artwork by Naomi Cormack, nomart.com. This is Sulis, obviously. Now we need to, what do we know about Sulis as a kind of roundup? We need to piece together bits and pieces to get an overall picture of Sulis. And even this is a bit sketchy. But these are the key points that I believe. She's local to Bath. Dedications, offerings, mentions of her name are only found in Bath in Somerset, never anywhere else in the country or in the world. She's a goddess of the hot springs. She accepted and presumably actioned curses. Bearing in mind that although we found 130, there's probably a whole load more that we haven't found. She's called upon to make judgment and justice. She's possibly a healing deity, but we will come back to that in a minute. As her name translates in some versions to gap or eye, this gives me the connection to her seer abilities. The evidence of the haruspex or the soothsayer on site may also point to her being called upon for divination skills. Her connection to water also brings in fertility. I definitely see her as a solar deity with all of the connections that we've already mentioned today. Some evidence also suggests she was called upon to aid in war and military strategy. And there is the evidence that she might have had an eternal flame burning in her temple as well. So as a roundup for her magical properties to call upon her for: blessings, courage, cleansing, creativity, cursing, of course, divination, prophecy, finding lost things, healing, judgment and justice, knowledge, oaths, because we know that oaths were made in her honor, planning, psychic abilities, strategy, strength, warrior energy, and wisdom. So a huge amount of stuff there. She's a big, strong, kick butt kind of goddess. She doesn't stand any nonsense of any kind, which is why she works with me, I think. She is fiery, but she can always, in my experience, be appeased with a gift. This is my gnosis. This is my experience of working with her. I've never done this with any goddess before, even my blessed Kalach. But I feel the need to address Sulis as Milady. It just feels right. And I've never felt the need to do it with any other goddess. Each time I meditate to see her, although her origins are pre-Roman, she's always in the setting of the Roman baths when I connect with her. I've never seen her anywhere else. Although I do feel her walking with me all of the time. She's ancient, really ancient. I believe that she loved the arrival of the Romans because they gave her the attention she required and the beautiful temple that she deserved. When you connect with her, build a relationship. She will kick things into action really quickly. In my experience, she gets things moving at a really rapid pace. Don't call on her unprepared. Be ready for a fast and furious journey. But with such a lack of information about her, although we've got all this information about the Roman baths, and even that is all piece bits, there's very, very little information about Sulis other than the altars that mention her name. So you'll need to make your own connections, and you'll need to build your own relationship with her, which you should do with any deity, really. Or if I come back to the healing thing, Sulis sits smack bang in the center of a natural heated spring, which would usually lead you to give you the idea she's a healing goddess. I don't think, personally, this was her main function. It doesn't sit right for me. I'm sure the waters were healing, thought to be healing. They were full of minerals. I don't believe it was one of the main attributes of Sulis. Often when there's an ancient site where there's a well, a spring, or a sacred water, and I am quoting Barry Cunliffe, again, who knows far more about it than I do. Often when you go to those sites, you'll find items given up to the waters that represent the part of the body that needed healing. So if you had a dodgy leg, you might carve the shape of a leg, albeit in miniature, and throw that in. If you had a headache, you might carve a little head shape and throw that in. Bath doesn't have these kind of offerings, or nothing that they found so far. Literally just one small torso figure. But the experts don't believe that it was used for healing. But you can't escape the power of the element of water and the fact that it is healing and the fact that the water is warm. So it does lend healing energy. So I think that's definitely a part of what you can work with her with, but I don't believe personally it was her main role. I do think very strongly she's all about justice. With all of those cursed tablets, she must be. It could be vengeance, but again, I do feel the requests are more for justice rather than just smiting people that you don't like. I mean, there might have been some of those as well. With the waters coming from the eye in the ground and the name Sulis being connected with the translation of eye, definitely all-seeing, definitely seer abilities. And with the Haruspecs, the soothsayer as well. It is Sir Barry Cunliffe who suggests that there's a warlike side to Sulis, echoed in the characteristics of Minerva, but they found all sorts of weaponry pieces that have been given as offerings as well. So they think soldiers may have made offerings to her. She echoes Minerva quite a lot, but I guess there's quite a lot of crossover with deities anyway. The eternal flame in her temple makes the connection with fire, and of course that connects really nicely with candle magic as well. I think having a candle dedicated to Sulis is a really nice way of honouring her. She'll sort you out. She will absolutely sort you out.
So what about creating an altar? So altars are very personal. They should reflect you as a person, as well as the deity that you are going to honour. So trust your intuition in what you want to put on it. But also ask Sulis, when you've made that connection with her, what would she like on her altar from you? Where you place the altar will often depend on what space you have in your home. And it doesn't have to be a large area. It could just be a windowsill or a mantelpiece or even a tray. But look round and see which spot feels right for you and for her, because she will certainly let you know if she doesn't like it. So there are some suggestions as you know, things that Rachel and the rest of us have put on our altars, or items that you might feel connect. Basically anything goes. You can use ornaments, images printed from the internet, keys, key rings, children's toys. Just be creative. Look around at what you've already got in your home, but keep an eye out also in charity or thrift stores as well. I don't think any of us have actually found a statue that we like enough or feel that is enough like Sulis. No, but you can find other ornaments and figurines that could be, that you could, and you can change to make look more like her. A picture like Naomi's or Susie's. But yeah, Naomi's one was just
how powerful
amazing.
Is that? It
is
so
very powerful.
powerful, isn't it? Yeah.
But then all of Naomi's art is powerful. So
Mm.
yeah. So, but yeah, find a picture. Candles and holders, but use colours that you would associate with her. I think would we all say that we go with yellow, gold,
The solar
orange?
colour. Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, you might not feel that those, are representative for you. Representations of water, such as shells or a dish of spring water from your local spring, if you've got a local spring near you. Images of the Roman baths, obviously, and if you get a chance to visit, have a very good gift shop, as we will all attest.
Spend a lot of money on that.
Might have spent quite a lot of money in there. There's the image of the Gorgons, we all say Gorgon head, and you can print these off of the internet, but you can find castings for sale sometimes as well, or you could create your own if you're good with modeling or air dry clay. Why not try making one of your own? And then you could paint it as well, couldn't you? So obviously an offering dish is good. Now that can be anything. It can be a glass, it can be, just vase with fresh flowers or fresh herbs. I think, Rachel, you tend to keep your tarot cards on your Sulis altar, don't you? Because your connection with her, with seer things. Yeah. Coins.
I've got Naomi's oracle cards on there at the minute as well.
Yeah. Coins. So any of the, because quite a few of the offerings in the baths were coins. So coins of any description. If you're looking at tarot cards in the sun, tarot, definitely. But have I say pretty, but it's color. I'd say colourful as well. If you can get it colourful.
Yeah.
So glass dishes, vases, images of owls or pigs or boars or dolphins. Mosaic designs, because of the Roman, they loved their mosaics, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then there's offerings. First suggestion is meditate with Sulis, and allow your subconscious to decide what gifts to present to her from you. Generally, the offerings tend to be of food, often grapes or fruit, sometimes cheese. I think, Rachel, you often get drawn to give copper coins and sometimes silver. Yeah. And you've got some Roman coins as well that you use for that.
Replicas, not real ones.
But again, go with your intuition. If you feel like giving toy money,
that would work. Yeah.
A suitable idea for an offering dish to Sulis is to have a bowl of spring water on your altar, and then you can drop the coins or pretty stones or crystals or brooches. I mean, if you're thinking of charity or thrift shops, you often find brooches that are beautiful, that would work, wouldn't they?
That would be brilliant.
So a list of suggestions are coins, herbs, flowers, foods such as grapes or nuts, shells or pebbles, wine, beads. Basically, if you're going to give offerings, do it regularly. You wouldn't put out a piece of cake for somebody that was coming in a week's time and expect them to eat it, or you wouldn't, or if they couldn't come that day but were coming a week later, you wouldn't expect them to have the same slice of cake. So it's a case of changing it regularly, and also changing what you're giving. So not always giving the same thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it does change. You have to, ask. Once she told me she wanted leeks. I have no idea what she wanted leeks for, but she wanted leeks. So that's what she got.
Yeah, it is. It is that asking, isn't it? Because what she wants from you would be different from what she'd ask from me or Ness or anybody else watching. Even if we were all meditating at the same time, it would be. When you make your offering, remember to state what it is for. Charge the item with your intent by holding it in your hands, visualizing your goal or your desire or the reason that you're giving it as an offering. Say something along the lines of, Goddess Sulis, I ask you, insert your request, with my heartfelt thanks. If you are just giving the item as an offering to honor Sulis, you could say, Goddess Sulis, I give this offering of, and insert what it is, as an honour to you and your continued support and guidance. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be for something. It can just be thank you, can't it?
Yeah, it's manners and respect. That the idea of actually stating your what you're doing is how the Romans would give offerings. So it kind of ties in quite nicely.
Brilliant. One of the most obvious ways to connect with Sulis is to bathe. Within Alan Richardson's excellent book, Searching for Sulis, is an appendix written by Paul Dunn. He suggests the best place to connect with Sulis is within your own home, via the bath or your shower, which is a genius idea. She is, after all, a goddess of baths and bathing. You could even extend that to cover all the plumbing systems throughout the country. Obviously, just taking a bath or jumping in the shower is straightforward. But that ritual bathing can be an amazing experience. You could create a ritual bath to connect with the energy of Sulis, or you might even treat it as a portal or gateway to the other world. Springs and wells have been seen as this type of portal right back throughout history. Building a relationship. What I cannot stress enough is how important it is to build a relationship with Sulis before asking her for things. Yeah, that's just manners, isn't it? And politeness. In fact, this goes for any deity. The connection you have is built and earned. It does not usually happen instantly. A relationship with deity is the same as any other, whether it's with your partner, a friend, or a colleague. It will take time and effort to build and to maintain. Keep making contact, whether that is via meditation or prayer. Honour her with offerings and setting up of an altar. Dedicate some of your time and energy to do things in her name. You need to get to know her and her personality, the same as she needs, obviously, to get to know you. There are no shortcuts to this or magic of any kind. And yeah, that's quite right, isn't it? There's no quick fix. It's not a 5-second thing. You do need to build up your relationships as you do with any others. Is that King Bladud?
I'm sure it's not pronounced like that, but I have no idea how it's pronounced. It's probably Blather or something like that.
Yeah, it's very strange letters there which don't sound like letters that should be there. One of the myths that surrounds the city of Bath and the creation of the bath and the temple ties in a story written by Geoffrey of Monmouth.
Good old Geoffrey.
The story is obviously not based on fact because the Romans really did build the baths, but it is an interesting tale nonetheless. Based on an original story in 1673, the mayor of Bath, Henry Chapman, printed a rhyming appendix in his book. Thermae redid they. We definitely need some work, don't we?
We must have in Latin.
A much shorter version with just the cliff notes. This tells of Prince Bladud being outcast from his father's palace, contracts leprosy. He is forced to work as a lowly swineherd, and in doing so, his disease spreads to the pigs. The pigs, however, who are incredibly intelligent creatures, find their way to the natural hot springs and bathe in the waters and are cured. Bladud, realizing what has happened, follows suit and bathes in the hot springs himself and is also miraculously cured. He returns home and builds the city of Bath at the site of the springs in celebration. There are variations to the story throughout history, but most of them seem to include several points. Those being that Bladud could fly by magical means, he practiced necromancy and fire and solar magic, and worked with astrology. It is worth noting here that pigs and wild boar were very important animals to the ancient Celtic peoples. It was believed they held a strong connection and gateway to the underworld. The name Bladud has been spelt in various ways over the years, whether in translations, misspelling, or changes in the language. The important part is the root of the name, Bla, Bell, or Bell. This is often associated with fire or bright. Bel being a word relating to the god of fire or light. There is a definitely solar or fiery connection with the name. For the last part of the name, this could be translated in various ways, such as the Irish and Gaelic a god, or the Welsh mediator or arbitrator. It may have even had its roots in the Gaulish meaning of druid.
All comes together, doesn't it? All comes together.
I cannot wait to read this book. It sounds absolutely fascinating.
Anne says we have Roman baths in Prestatyn. Oh, okay. There are a few of them dotted around. There are a few. We've got Roman Palace near me as well, Fishbourne Roman Palace, which is quite fascinating to look at. Yeah, they did like their baths. I saw this one. War and Justice reminds me a bit of Tyr from Norse. The important thing to remember is that Sulis was worshipped from Mesolithic times. So she was an ancient primordial deity. So any gods that came afterwards or any peoples that came afterwards may have tied in with her. She is very ancient. But I think it depends how you look at the gods. I mean, there are generally gods and goddesses with similarities right across the globe, isn't there? Naomi, have a mini altar in my bathroom with shells, stones from the beach and a candle. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Perfect. Brilliant. So we move on to, there's my piggy. It was absolutely no surprise to me to find out that Sulis worked with boars and pigs, because that's one of my animals, has been for longer than I've worked with deity. But in most myths and legends, most deities are associated with some kind of animal. We don't know for sure if Sulis had specific animals in her stories, because there are no records of any stories, but we can guess. Pigs and the wild boar, with the connection to the story of Bladud, we get the connection with pigs. I take that a step further, because wild boar would have been native and plentiful in ancient Britain. So the boar carries a really strong warrior energy and brings strength, transformation, protection, truth, and power. So to me, hand in hand with Sulis. The owl obviously comes in with the Minerva connection. I think it sits quite well. Some of the species of owl are native to Britain, and they've been around for thousands of years. So that they would have been a familiar sight. The owl brings magic of protection, death and rebirth, uncovering deception. So we've got truth again, wisdom, secrets, and magic of all kinds. So that works in quite nicely. Dolphin is a bit of a tricky one. I think this is a direct influence from the Romans. Britain does have dolphins along some of the coastlines now, but I couldn't find any evidence of them in more ancient times, although some sources do state that the ancient Celts associated dolphins with sea deities. So there may be that connection there, but the Romans loved them. They feature in loads of their mosaics and their decorations. Does the dolphin fit with Sulis? Not for me personally. Dolphins are ocean creatures. Sulis is natural springs. So for me, there's not that real connection, but you might feel otherwise. But dolphin brings healing magic, balance, wisdom, and all kinds of water magic. Fish and birds as well. There was that brooch that was found in the springs, the Celtic one, with a bird head and a fish. Are they symbols of Sulis? Are they symbols of a long forgotten legend? For me, it doesn't work. I think the one brooch that's been found with those was probably because it came from Ireland, so it had that connection. The Celts did have an affinity with birds and fish. They did, but they honoured the spirits of many animals, so it doesn't really fit with me. But, you know, you make your own connections from that one. When you're making a petition to Sulis, and here on the screen we've got some of those lovely curse tablets, there is a reflection of modern petitions with the curse tablets. Each one was written on pewter and folded, as Heather said earlier. Getting hold of sheets of pewter and etching your request on is obviously, if you want to go that way, but it's not so easy. What I tend to do, write your petition on slips of paper and drop them in a dish of water, or work with tin foil, aluminium foil. Cut a piece of the aluminium foil that you normally use in the kitchen, write your petition on it with, if you use a pencil, slightly blunt pencil, it works a bit like writing on pewter would have been. Fold it up, drop it in a dish of water, or leave it on your altar. It's quite a nice way of honouring her, I think. So part of the problem, and this is a wrap up now, the final problem is that with the Roman baths, the ability to do any further serious archaeological work is really hampered. There is a lovely stone building that surrounds the main bath today, but a huge amount of the remains are under the ground, and that ground is covered by an enormous cathedral, shops, buildings, houses. However, work does continue as much as they can. New discoveries are often being made to help us understand the story of the baths. The other point to note is that most of the work has been done to unearth and study the baths themselves. Any delving into the goddess is very, very sparse. The question, I guess, is how much more information can we find on her? There doesn't appear to be any local myths or legends. There's no stories told around the fire on late winter nights. Perhaps as part of what draws me to her, the fact that she's kick butt for a start, but maybe it's the mystery and the unknown, and perhaps that the knowledge my journey with her is going to be very personal, and just as they are with any deity. But I think particularly with Sulis, and in fact most of the English deities, because so many of them have been forgotten and we know very little about them all, you have to build your own personal journey with her. And I think for me, that is the most exciting part about working with her, is the unknown, and it becomes very, very personal. So there you go. That's just
Absolutely fascinating.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Let's take that down there.
That's what's so great, isn't it, about it, that you can build your own relationship based on your own thoughts and things rather than reading it or whatever. You've got your
I mean, if you love the fact for the dolphin, Silas, I have made connection through healing with water. Yeah, dolphins and healing. If I work with healing and I want to bring in the spirit of animal, then healing is my go-to. Rosemary, does algae build up on the waters, and would it have during that time frame if there are any right? Okay, so if you look at all of the pictures of the Roman baths today, they are that bright green color. That is algae. That's why you can no longer bath or bathe in the baths, because the algae has polluted the water. It's why you can't paddle in it anymore. You used to be able to put your feet in it. You can't, because the algae makes the water quite toxic. You can buy bottles of water to drink, but it is direct from the source of the spring. The baths themselves are pretty icky. They do clean them out occasionally, but the algae is more modern. They wouldn't have been that colour when the Romans bathed in the water. That is a more modern thing. But it gives it a nice colour. It gives it quite a luminous colour. So,
the cathedral is so imposing over it, though, isn't it? Really oppressive.
Yeah, it is. Now, we do have a ritual. We've got a short ritual to do with you, so don't disappear yet. If you want more information, obviously my book, please pre-order the book. That would be lovely. Thank you. If you are interested in the actual archaeological side of it, absolutely recommend any of Sir Barry Cunliffe's books. There is a recommended reading in the back of the Sulis book as well, but he did the original work on it. Well, not the original, because actually the original was done much older and then they rebuilt all over it again. But anyway, you'll have to read the book to find out that story.
Oh, yes.
But she is fascinating because you won't find her anywhere else. She is Bath's goddess. So we will do the little ritual now. This ritual is in the book as well. This one, actually, this is a ritual to Sulis that we did way before I wrote the book. So back in 2014, which, oh my goodness, that's 10 years ago now. How scary is that? In which actually we led a ritual in honor Sulis. This is when I found her. There's about time I found her. We used to have our rituals in a grove of beech trees surrounding by fields of grass. So that particular day, we honoured Sulis. We also initiated several members into our coven, which was very special, but also quite befitting of Sulis because she is an acceptor of oaths. So it kind of all tied in very nicely. The ritual we're going to do today and the one that's in the book is very loosely based on that original one. Bear in mind, you know this, but to work properly with any ritual requires your energy, your visualization. When we cast the circle, see it, feel it, see that sphere forming around you. As we call in the elements, visualize all the properties for it. See the flames when we call in fire, feel the energy of it. You'll have a much better ritual experience, particularly when you're online, which is quite a different experience to doing it in person. So, when you are ready, Ness, if you'd like to kick it off.
I'll kick it off. We will begin by casting the circle. Take a few deep breaths. Get yourself comfortable. Visualize a protective circle forming around you. Then see it rise up above you and down below, forming a sphere above, around you, and below you. Sulis, goddess of power and might, protect this circle and shine your light. Cast this circle round about to keep energy in and the unwanted out. This circle is now cast.
So you return to face the north, but visualize that you are, and you light your earth candle and say, element of earth, I ask that you lend your magic of stability, grounding to this ritual. We welcome you.
We welcome you.
We welcome you. Turn to face the east, or visualize facing the east, and lighting the air candle, say, element of air, I ask that you lend your magic of intellect and wisdom to this ritual. I welcome you.
I welcome you.
Welcome you. Turn to face the south and light the fire candle. Say, element of fire, I ask that you lend your magic of creativity and passion to this ritual. I welcome you.
I welcome you. turning to face the west and lighting the water candle, say, element of water, I ask that you lend your magic of emotions and flow to this ritual. I welcome you.
I welcome you.
I welcome you.
Now face the center and lighting the Sulis candle, say, Sulis, Lady of the Sacred Springs, I call upon you, Goddess of the Sun and Thermal Waters. I ask you to bring your wisdom and power to this ritual. Join us and lend your blessings. We welcome you.
We welcome you.
We welcome you.
Next, light the Balanus candle and say, Balanus, Lord of the Sun, Light of the Day, we call upon you. We ask you to bring your power and support to this ritual. Join us and lend your energy. We welcome you.
We welcome you.
We welcome you.
Now, if you have an oath or a pledge you'd like to make, this would be a good point to do it. It might be an oath to yourself or your own self-care. Could also be a pledge to dedicate yourself to your own spiritual pathway. It could be to ask the dog to stop digging a hole in the carpet. Now is the point to speak your words to the goddess.
But the other thing that we thought would be good would be to do some coin wishes to Sulis. Obviously, if you have any curses that you wish to do instead of wishes, that is totally up to you. But that's why we said to have slips of paper and a pen for this part of the spell working with the ritual. So hold your hands over the dish of water, the bowl of water, and just say, Mighty Sulis, Goddess of the eye to the otherworld, I ask that you lend your magic to this working, help me see between the veils, and guide me in my wishes. Then you can take a slip of paper, write your wish, goal, question, or curse on it. Take one of the coins, wrap the coin in the paper, and then obviously don't throw it but yeah, you could just gently drop it into your bowl of water. And you can do as many as you like. I chose yellow paper. Did anybody else?
Okay, nice.
Did anybody else choose a different colour?
That works.
I'm talking to everyone, the people out there in the Ethernet that we know are watching us, because it says there's a number at the top, so we know we're not alone.
There's lots of you out there. Thank you.
Yeah, they haven't all disappeared.
I called on Sulis a couple of years back when we had a house renovation, because I wanted to move it along quickly, because I hate having the house renovated. I had a dish, and then I had some spring water, and each morning I would put an offering of spring water in the dish to Sulis and drop a coin in there to help keep moving it along. And I did that each day, and I only a dash of spring water, and then the following day the spring water would have evaporated, and then I'd add a dash again. It worked.
it's nice the evaporation as well, because it's almost like that's sending it off into the.
Yeah. I think people are letting this go in on their own. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sticking with us. We're quite used to talking to ourselves, but
yeah, we can do that for hours.
we can.
We do.
Days, in fact.
Once you're done, you can just sit and quietly watch the water, look for any symbols that you might see, do a little bit of scrying. Because Sulis, as has been said, is very good as a seer. For those, don't obviously try and get animal entrails out of an animal, but you know,
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. But yeah, you could do a little bit of scrying now with your water. I've used a glass, so it probably wouldn't work very well. But if you'd used something darker, it would work well, wouldn't it?
Yep, I've got one here.
You can also see how the water is affecting the paper. See whether it makes the paper swell up or whether it makes it move. Just spend some time just doing that nice and. Oh, look, that one's moving.
I think scrying is easier if you've got a dark inside to the bowl. But actually, I like the idea of the glass one as well. That's quite interesting. But it doesn't have to be a dish, does it? It can be a cereal bowl or even a mug, a coffee mug. I'm going to have to go and let the dog out.
One of mine has virtually unwrapped itself, and the other one's blowing bubbles.
It is very. Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that one's virtually almost unwrapped.
Sitting there, but the flickering of the. Yeah, it's just sitting at the bottom. It has sort of swelled up a bit, but it's the reflection of the candles on the water. It's also very warm sitting here with 6 candles.
Isn't it?
But,
I just realised that I was getting very close.
Oh yeah, don't set yourself alight. Yeah, the flickering of the candles sort of reflecting on the bowl. That's quite interesting. Something to sort of do at a quieter time, maybe, and see what messages come. But yeah, absolutely fascinating. It sort of brought it all back, our trip there, and what we saw and everything. So,
it was magical, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much looking forward.
The very first time I went to the Roman baths, we managed to go in the evening, and they light it all up with torches, flaming torches.
Oh wow!
And it was really magical.
Perhaps we need to go back and do that.
Oh well, I'm always up for jolly, so. Excellent.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. Yeah, we've got a big long list of jollies. Oh,
we have got a long list.
Anne is coming down to Hampshire next weekend. Hampshire. Good old Hampshire.
Oh.
Cool. Oh, let's have a drink.
And if you've got any food and drink, now's a good time to have it. It will help to ground you, but it also acknowledges that the goddess provides for you. Keep a little drink and food to give us an offering. So it just so happens I've got my Sulis bottle here.
Oh, you were organised.
Mine's in the witchy room that I can't read.
Okay, and we want to know what everyone out there is eating and drinking, please.
Well, obviously. If anyone did manage to order the Sulis hoard, they were a limited edition. Thank you to everyone that ordered them. They sold out within a day. You will get a Sulis water bottle like the one Ness has there. They will be sent out towards the end of this month. As soon as I get book stocks in, as soon as the book stock comes, I will send them out. There you go. No, I haven't got food. I've got food for after. Crackers and tea. That's very British. Very British. Crackers and tea. I like it.
Yeah, I just got water.
Yeah, I've only got water for the minute because I'm working. I have got chocolate puddle pudding afterwards.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Oh, that sounds
It's one of the self-sourcing pudding things.
Oh,
lovely.
fudge strip cookies and water.
Fudge
that sounds
strip
nice.
cookies
Oh, I'm with
and
Jane.
water.
Yeah, I'm with Jane. Yeah, we're all
Oh.
coming to. We're all going to Jane's house.
Yeah, minstrels and hot chocolate. Yep, definitely.
Oh no, okay, ravioli
Yeah.
sounds good too.
Yeah. Or
I like ravioli.
Now that it really is British.
mm,
Oh, David's had a biscuit. That
Some cream.
up again, David. In fact, the last time we saw David, we were buying ice cream from an ice cream wagon, weren't we?
mm. Mind you, it does depend on what sort of biscuit, because you know, David, it's probably not a normal biscuit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I like an iced latte. Mr. Kipling's Victoria cake slices. That's Mr. Kipling. Good old Mr. Kipling. Good. Now I'm really hungry. I actually have found that in all of the offerings that Sulis has asked me for, most, other than the coins, most of them are food related. And a lot of the time, because I'm meditating with her, I bring her the offerings in my meditation. So when she asked me for a tray of leeks, I didn't actually have to go out and buy a tray of leeks. I just presented her with a tray of leeks in my meditation. So there are, and that seems to work. Oh, pepper. Oh, okay, that sounds nice. Yeah, I like spices. I like spices. Amanda Scott, jammy Dodger, herbal water, no food just yet. Had dinner, sneaked in a jammy Dodger. Excellent. The food of the doctor. Sephora, here they use flax baskets to lower food into the hot water to cook or to steam. Oh, okay. In the hot springs in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Eve, boring water and last bit of carrot cake. Carrot cake's good. Carrot cake's good. Do you like?
Love carrot cake.
Yeah.
Like carrot cake.
Nice. Anne bought ginger thins from IKEA. That's quite a random thing to buy from IKEA. Was it just ingredients? Did you have to make them yourself? With the IKEA instructions. Excellent. Right, now we're really hungry. Perhaps we should close this down. So Sephora woke up for food. It's fine, Sephora. So we will close the ritual down now. So we start with the deities. So if you would like to face the center, quite spicy. Yeah, ginger. I can't eat ginger biscuits. I had them when I was pregnant, long time ago, because I was so ill, and I ate lots of ginger biscuits to try and combat it. Didn't work, but it put me off ginger biscuits. So facing the center, Sulis, Lady of the Sacred Springs, I thank you for your energy here today. Stay if you will, go if you must, with our heartfelt thanks. And if you lit your Sulis candle, you may now snuff it out.
That didn't work.
Perhaps it doesn't want to go out. It's eternal flame. And then to Balanus, Lord of the Sun, thank you for your energy here today. Stay if you will, go if you must, with our heartfelt thanks. And if you had a Balanus candle, you may snuff it out. Oh, you got smoke going on there, Heather.
Yeah. Must get a new snuffer.
Oh, yes.
Now you turn to the west and say, element of water, I thank you for your energy here today, and snuff out your water candle.
Oh, it's relit. That's bizarre.
There you go. Mess around with the solar goddess, that's what you get.
Well, I'm just going to leave them to burn down. Turn to face the south. Say, element of fire, I thank you for your energy here today, and snuff out the fire candle, if it'll let you.
I don't think Sulis is quite finished.
Yeah, no. It's good. It's all good.
Yeah. Turn to the east and say, element of air, I thank you for your energy here today, and snuff out the air candle.
Turn to face the north. Element of earth, I thank you for your energy here today, and snuff out the earth candle. I'm going to try all of them at once, see if that makes a difference.
It doesn't want to go out today, does it?
I'm just going to leave that. All it's doing is turning the inside of a snuff of blood.
It's not meant to go.
That's very bizarre.
So, Sulis,
That's my water. That's my water
mic.
one that won't go out.
Release the circle, but keep the light. This circle is now on cast, but may the strength and protection last. With solar blessings to everyone. So if you've got water in your bowl, it can be poured into the garden. The paper from your petitions can be put in the compost or in the trash. Coins can be placed on your altar. They can be put there as a reminder. If you wanted, you could bury them. Trust your intuition as to what you need to do with them. Anne says you haven't got your twinkly lights behind you, Heather.
I'm in a different place. In the same house, different place.
Any questions?
Yeah, I must do something in that corner.
Any questions? Anyone got any questions about Sulis or what we've done here this evening? Pop them in the comments now and we will answer them. You're very welcome, Eve. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you as well to Rosemary. Thank you to everyone that's joined us and stuck with us for the 2 hours. And thank you to everyone that's watching us on replay as well. You are very welcome. But we've got, any last questions about Sulis? You will have to find her yourself. There are connections, but the journey with her will be entirely your own. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Amanda. Yep, it'll be on replay. As soon as we finished, it'll be on replay. Thank you, Naomi. Reminder on the artwork. If you want an image of Sulis, then Naomi Cormac, nomart.com. Amazing Sulis artwork. If you want a picture of Sulis from the book cover, they will be available on the website, but Air online shop, in the next couple of weeks. If you want to pre-order the Sulis book from me, signed copy, you can do that via the kitchenwitchhearth.net online shop, or you can all pre-order it from Amazon or all the other usual places. Sephora is really early in New Zealand, Sephora. Thank you for joining us. Jane, a very quick 2 hours. It does seem like it's quick, isn't it? And love the Roman baths. They are truly magical. They are. Thank you, David. She is an amazing, amazing goddess. Good evening, morning, afternoon, Vicky. I will be talking about Sulis again on Fika with I never heard how to say that. Fika with Vicky in a couple of weeks. Look out for the information. My information's on my events. David, has the candle set light to anything else now? Are you safe now yet? You set the house on fire?
I keep looking at it, and it's just melting and merging into the other candles.
Wow. Jane,
Yeah.
the book is, I think it's about the 28th of September, I think, something like that. It's towards the
I
end.
think it's the 29th.
Is it 29th? I know it was towards the end. Kerry, are the 2 coloured candles now dedicated to those deities? Yes. If it depends how you work with candles. If I have used candles as signifiers for deities in ritual, then for me they then carry that energy of those deities going forward. You can deconsecrate candles, but for me it never works particularly well. I like to keep them dedicated to those deities, but trust your intuition. Oh, hello.
It's not the 29th, it's the 24th.
I knew it was something like that. Towards the end. Will there be an individual book on bananas? Nothing official yet. There is a contract signed for a book on Minerva, though. I would love to write a book about bananas. Who knows? Yeah, you never know. But definitely one on Minerva coming. Although I'm writing about trees at the moment. We got lots coming up. I've got 6 book contracts at the moment.
At the moment. And there was another one that got dropped in recently.
Oh yeah, I wrote a book in a day.
Are you sure it's not 7?
No, it's 6. Yeah. It's 6. We've got a lot of stuff going on. If you want to find out where we are, what we're doing, have a look at the Kitchen Witch website for the events and my own website on the events page as well. We are doing online readings. You get a reading from all 3 of us, triad readings. They're available on the online website or via the online shop as well. We've got lots of stuff coming up that we're doing, that we're going to be at. We've got another workshop in December. We're going to be doing a couple of hours workshop on the full moon and full moon magic as well. So the details of that are all on the website. So have a look. And as always, both blogs, mine and the Kitchen Witch one, full of lots of stuff. Both YouTube channels full of lots of stuff. There you go. But if
there's anything that we haven't covered and you think of it, tell us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will do our very best.
We might not.
If we can possibly manage it, we will do it.
We will.
If it piques our interest too, yeah, fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we know about it, if we work with it, we'll be able to do it. We don't ever cover anything that we don't personally work with or that we don't personally know about.
Because that's not authentic then.
No.
That's just...
Nope. So don't ask us for anything on numerology or sacred geometry because it's not going to happen.
Know about it, we just don't like it.
Yeah. We know the basics. We know the basics for our, but not to actually
do it. No. So there you go. Thank you everyone for joining us. Do please seek out Sulis, even if you don't buy the book. Just thank you, Claire. Just seek her out because she's an amazing deity to work with. Absolutely. And thank you as always to Ness and Heather for everything. Kitchen Witch wouldn't be Kitchen Witch without these guys. So thank you to them as well.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So
it's a team thing. It's a team thing. Thank you, Tamara. So there you go. We will click the button and disappear from your screens. Replay will be available in literally a few seconds. Thank you so much, everyone, and solar blessings of Sulis. Yes, it's time for cake. Sounds like. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.